From the East Coast to the West Coast, we are everywhere true crime is. We are asking for the public's help. We are searching in the woods. We are doing what it takes here on the Bullhorn Betty channels to find answers to the most alarming cases we have been watching on the news. I can tell you personally that I have traveled this entire country seeking these answers and bringing that content right here to you here on the Bullhorn Betty channels and Bullhorn Betty Crime Stories. We are happy with the work that we've done. We brought many answers to the public, and we have defied mainstream media in our pursuit of the truth in these cases. We will continue to work. We will continue to fight for these victims, and we will continue to tell their stories here on my channels. Welcome to the Bullhorn Betty brand of channels and the Coffee Club. Thank you for your love, thank you for your support, and more importantly, thank you for allowing me to bring these victims' stories to each and every one of you, advocating for each of these victims. God bless you, God bless America, and more importantly, God bless our victims. Good morning, guys. It's nice to see you. So we're going over Sebastian Wayne Drake Rogers, just to give anybody that's new to this case an update on what am I talking about, Michael. You crack me up every time you put that down there. Fungal foot. Oh, good Lord. You guys crack me up. You really do. We make my day. But we're talking about Sebastian Wayne Drake Rogers. He's the 15-year-old autistic boy that disappeared literally from his home in Hendersonville, Tennessee. According to his mother, the night before, he went to bed around 9. Later in her story process, we learned that there was or may have been a thud or thump-like sound coming from his room around 10. She did have some verbal communication with him about that, saying like, did you fall out of your bed? Whatever you're doing in there, go to sleep. And then the next morning she wakes him up to go to school, and when she went in his room, he wasn't there. So that kind of snowballed all of this, kind of forward. She gets on the phone with her husband, his stepfather, Christopher Proudfoot, and they talk for I don't know how long. Apparently they looked around the house. She's on the three-way with him. He doesn't even call 911. He calls a dispatch line or a non-emergency number at something like 6:30 in the morning. Many people say that number's not manned, but obviously somebody picked up because he spoke to somebody. So as you guys know, there's been a little bit of drama. Well, not a little bit, quite a lot of drama going on in this case. And it's like every time you think you're getting something settled, something else rears its ugly head. Nothing can ever just be settled, And so there's been a lot of turnover, in this case, public turnover. Obviously, everybody runs to social media. And, even me, the problem I had yesterday ran right here to social because I was upset. So I understand it. But, I'm also not hired as from the family as a, anyways, we're not going to go into it. But there's just a lot of drama going on. And if you guys did go over to the mysterious disappearance of Sebastian Rogers Facebook group, because I've been talking about them here literally for the last 2 months, unsubscribe from them. They removed me from there because I had a problem with them bashing Seth anymore. I'm just over it. I'm done with it. And I was very respectful and was very thoughtful in how I presented the message. And at the end of it, I was blocked from that group totally. So it clearly tells us that they're not in it for Sebastian Rogers. They're in it for their clicks. They're in it for their views. They're in it for their own personal benefit. And it's obviously notable. Since I made the post, there have been people that have come out of the woodworks that have talked about a similar situation that they had. And these people were silenced because they don't have a platform that I had. We had no idea that this group was doing it. And all the while, this is what they were doing. When people had a problem with anything, instead of them just letting them have a problem with it, they would interject themselves and boot them from the system. Yes, Sarah B, it is. Yes, it is. And so, like, just to, and to be honest with you, I had nothing bad to say. I don't like internet PIs because they're not private eyes, okay? They're public eyes. It's not that I don't think they're good investigators. I'm just a stickler for details. I had nothing bad to say about anybody on there. I'm sure that they did a good job, whatever. But clearly they were overstepping the boundaries. This is a man, he's missing his father. He doesn't need really an unprofessional team telling him what he needs to be doing. And so I feel like this all kind of came to a head. They're clearly not here to help the family. They're clear to help themselves. And I am absolutely think it was a blessing in disguise. I probably would never have left the group. So it does, you know what I'm saying? So it's done for me. So there's no problem with it, but I'm not going to sit around when I was very utmost respectful, and that happened. So this kind of segues into my next thumbnail. And it's this one right here. And this one just came in because there is a lot of chaos going on, and it's being derived by certain bad actors that feel like they were injured or felt jaded by the Seth Rogers in his efforts to find his son. Like, your feelings don't freaking matter. Let's be honest. And when it comes to think about it. If somebody talked to me the way that some of these people talk to Seth about who he's bringing on, I would have told them they would not even have wanted. Trust me, Seth's handled himself much better than a bullhorn Betty missing a child would. Because you come to me with that bullshit, I'm going to tell you to go, you know what? Gotta forgive me today. Bring it back. Right? But all the drama feeders are causing so much pain for all the people who love Sebastian. You get in these feeds and bash every comment just to argue. That is kind of where, this has been going. And yes, there's people promoting the page. This page right here has, so far, I haven't had any problems with any other pages, right? But the one I was in the most was obviously the largest group. It had the most people contributing to it, so it gave me more perspective. It was really to help, drive the conversation. It was to help the audience. It was to help the case. But clearly that's not their motivation, obviously. So that's what we got to look at. So there's also... And the next one's going to be long-winded, but it's the one that I want to get to the most. It really is. It's kind of sparked my curiosity because, I'm always talking about how Tennessee gets it backwards with their investigation. To be honest with you, I think Tennessee really does. I think their methods are highly ineffective, and I think it's proven. The proof's in the pudding. This one came from a Michelle in the Find Sebastian Rogers. Oh, thank you. The Find Sebastian Rogers group. And it says, please remember we are all here for Sebastian. If we are all working on the same common goal, we don't need an explanation. This is not a competition. There is hundreds of people who are sharing Sebastian's photos, passing out flyers, setting up signs, searching, and much, much more. Truthfully, our feelings, if they get hurt, don't matter. Sebastian, who is a missing 15-year-old for 80 days, who matters. Sebastian Wayne Drake Rogers is all that matters. Stay focused. And, we all have to remember, we need to sometimes, when things go on, sometimes you just need to pull it back, clear the air, clean the slate, and start anew. At the end of the day, this is what it's about. When I came on here, his face was my primary focus. At first, when the United Cajun Navy came in, I thought it was really good, and then I started hearing some horrible, horrible things with boots on the ground from multiple people. If it just came from one source, I probably wouldn't have believed it, to be honest with you. But because it came from multiple sources and multiple people that were unrelated to each other, I truly believe that the United Cajun Navy was a joke. And they caused a massive amount of problems. And so that chaos really caused a lot of people to exit. And we maintained focus. We've kind of been through this bumpy ride. You know what I'm saying? Like, we've been through the ups and downs of this case. We've maintained as much, good information about this case to keep our audience, above board with legitimate information. If we're going to be speculating and theorizing, we're doing it based upon legitimate information, not some wild theories that can't be proven. So that's kind of where we are. And I really think we need to all, which is what I've been my drumbeat for the last 3 days, solid drumbeat for the last 3 days, is to get it back to Sebastian. I'm sick and tired of hearing everybody else's name because who are you? At the end of the day, who are you? You don't matter. In my world, Seth doesn't matter. In my world, Chris and Katie don't matter. We talk about them because we know they have information. You know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, none of them matter. I'm not here for Seth. I'm not here for Katie. I'm not here for Chris. They're on my thumbnail by proxy. They have to be. They're part of the story. But the drama's got to go. And there are absolutely, without a doubt, 100%, we know where the drama is getting churned and created from. And I say hell to the nah. It's time to exit stage right. Know when to hold them and know when to fold them. The mysterious disappearance of Sebastian Rogers has become a toxic, out of control Facebook group, and their shit is starting to stink. I'm gone. I hope you join me. So here in the missing Sebastian Rogers facts and answers, this is the one that really kind of I want to talk about, because this goes to the 3-hour conversation. And we've done several lives on here, and you beautiful people, you guys get upset with me every now and again, right? Remember that when I said, there's no man in this world that's going to be on the phone with anybody for 3 hours, right? I've never met a guy. And of course, some of these beautiful ladies like, wait a minute. You're painting with too broad of a brush. I got a man that loves me and stays on the phone with me. It's only because I don't get to see him that much, so we stay on the phone for hours while he's driving. I never even thought. I'm sorry. We need to give props. We need to give props. Justice for Aaliyah. Oh, well, thank you, Chris. I love activism. I love activism for causes in chats like that. Thank you. I'm glad you put that in there, because at least somebody can see that name and go research. That's awesome. I love that. So we got these beautiful people. We forget about our beautiful truckers. Our truckers bring us commerce all across this country, and we forget they have wives sitting at home waiting for their husband, to come, but sometimes wives to come back home, right? It's quite sad because, my mom used to work for Cisco, and talking about truckers, I just saw a trucker that went off a bridge, and by the grace of God, it was a Cisco truck, but which is what brought my attention to it. It's like, holy crap, that's my mom's old job, and by the grace of God, that family gets to bring their trucker home. He was in the truck for, I'm sure, ready to wet his pants. I can't even imagine what it looks like when you're hanging that high up in the air in a big old freaking semi hanging off a bridge. I'm telling you, the rescuer, all I gotta say is bring some wipes. Let me clean myself up before you exit me. I'm just saying. So anyways, let's just get into this one. But it gets back to the 3-hour conversation, okay? And I didn't look at it from this angle. See, this is why it's always important for people to, express themselves. And it says, remember she said on the interview that she was talking with her husband, and about 10 o'clock she heard a thud. So she talked 3 hours to a man on a phone. Clearly, y'all know that's not true. Ain't no way you can look at her and tell me she can carry on a 3-hour conversation. I never even thought about that, right? Like, you're right. What does she have to talk about? Like, she's a mom that goes into a house that does 3 hours. Could she carry on a 3-hour conversation? You guys know her personality. You guys would know more than anybody whether or not she can carry on a conversation. Do you know somebody with her personality? They have it in them. Does she have enough air in her? We know she's full of hot air. We know she's full of hot air. I'm sorry. It just tickled me. It tickled me. So there's no way she can carry on a 3-hour conversation when you're right in front of her in 3 hours. She don't say a mumbling word. Like, we can't even get her to open her mouth. We can't even get her to open her mouth. Do you know CP personality? And we know he loves to talk. Maybe it was him mostly talking to I don't know. Could you stay? But 3 hours? I don't know. I mean, Chris really likes to hear himself talk, doesn't he? He don't want anybody shutting him up. He might cry. Chris, can you carry on a 3-hour conversation? Don't pout. I'm asking you a legitimate question. Cat got your tongue? He's pouting. There's nothing I can do, guys. He's not answering. He's pouting. And, she's missing. He's got 2 missing people. He's got a missing wife in action. His son, or his stepson. I don't know why I keep saying son. His stepson is literally gone. Is that a crying of joy? Is it crying of self-pity? Is it crying because everybody won't listen to your BS? Jeez, somebody needs to freaking change. I'm sorry, somebody needs to change him. Bye. We don't want you here. So I found it funny. I actually think it's quite hilarious that it is possible, Katie. I don't know if Katie could carry out a 3-hour I think that, but you know what? They probably did. I would have to say that the reason why they're talking about this 3-hour conversation is because law enforcement already questioned them about it. We have to let's put this. Let's think about this outside of the box. Let's put something better up here. Let's advocate for Sebastian while we're brainstorming here. So let's look at this thing. Let's look at this case objectively. So Sebastian Rogers disappeared on February 26, 2024, okay? We didn't even know about this case for 8 days. His family didn't do any interviews. His mom and stepdad were very, very resistant. It really wasn't until we started hearing that law enforcement is now having to start to entertain foul play and they're scaling back the searches. That was all around that same time when we got that first interview. Okay, so this was 8 days later. So Sebastian left his home or disappeared on February 26th. The world is learning about this 8 days later. Mom's not really showing a whole lot of emotion. At first, the first interview we were kind of like sketch about, but the news anchor dissected that so much that she painted it into being like a good segment. But when she had to release the entire segment and we actually heard Katie's body language, her actual laughing and language, plus her body language, I think a lot of us were in a little shock because you're expecting a Riley Strain mom, not one that can even pop a smile, let alone chuckle, much less bite her tongue. So you have all this stuff going on. Meanwhile, this child disappears and they have a 3-hour conversation. By day 8, I have to truly believe law enforcement has already asked them several questions. By day 8, they most likely know already that they had a 3-hour conversation and that they were having this conversation needed to be explained. So when they came to, you got to understand, when they came to the public for the first time, 8 days, they already knew what stuff they needed to say to corroborate their statement that they've already told law enforcement for the 8 previous days. And now they're trying to sell the bill of goods to the public. But see, this is, they waited 8 days, so now they're stuck in this. If they would have told their story to the public, we could have helped craft it for them. Because it's pretty much what we do. We tear it apart, right? We tell them all the inconsistencies, the holes, and everything else in it. And so after that happened, then they had to start backfilling because there was major holes that didn't make sense that many of us were bringing up. There was key features about the Proudfoots that we were bringing up, like the lack of emotion, the lack of caring, the fact that they were MIA on vigils, searches, posting flyers. They were disgruntled with anybody that appeared to want to help search for Sebastian. Everybody's saying that there are no receipts. They are the receipt. Their behavior is the receipt. The fact that this boy walked into their home and has never been seen leaving their home, but yet is gone, is it is the facts. These are the facts. It's also the facts that Katie and Chris have adamantly stated that this child does not have internet access inside that home. The idea of having a stranger danger or online predator is at an all-time low in this case. I do feel like I misspoke, though, because I had been told from the very beginning from Katie, Chris, and Seth that this child had literally no access to the internet. But it did seem, according to some statements that Seth did make, it's not that they totally kept him off the internet. It sounds like the only time they would allow him to go on the internet or to play games is if they are with him, or it sounds like the one game that Seth does have is only connected to like 2 other or like 3 other people. So, again, I do want to clarify that because I went from being under the guise because of what Chris and Katie said that he has absolutely no access to internet, but we are learning from Seth that at least at his house when he did see him, he had controlled access to it. So he didn't have access to it without his dad playing a game or something like that with him, from my understanding. So I want to make sure that I clarified that because we want to be as factual because, going from having no internet access to having limited internet access could still be key. We have to look at that. We need all of the actual facts. So I don't want to hit on that 3-hour phone call, but I truly believe it was a setup call. And I think the reason why they had to put it in is because law enforcement had already asked them about it. You see what I'm saying? So they had no choice, but it's not like, I don't think anybody would believe that people have 3-hour conversations unless there was extenuating circumstances like truck drivers. But I guess in the same sense, you could kind of apply that same standard because, in a sense to him, if we were to fairly apply it, because he is, the reason why the truck driver's wife said something is because he's a long haul truck driver and obviously gone for days on end. Obviously, Katie's husband, Chris, is in Mississippi, so obviously gone for days on end. So I guess you could apply that portion of it to it, the distance, and if one lady says that it's because he's gone, that's why they have to talk on the phone for so long, and that is kind of the situation that we're seeing here. It could be plausible. But I really feel that it was brought up because they were asked about it. And it makes you wonder, if law enforcement seen a pattern where they were on the phone for 3 hours every night, I don't know if they would have asked them about it or if it would have been that big of a deal, or Katie would have presented it a little differently, like I was on the phone with my husband for 3 hours like we do every night. She never really clarified it like every night. She just talked about this singular night. So we're all assuming that this could happen. But I don't know if I think I would have answered that question, because you would think that it would have been a question that somebody would take issue with. So it'd be like, yeah, I talked to my husband, for 3 hours like I do every night, and that moves that suspicion away that it just happened that night. Did it just happen that night? There's a reason why I feel like she brought it up, and we go to the deception detective, and when we watch some of his he educate. What I like about certain creators, especially ones with crafts, they try to educate their audience with their their forte or their experience. They try to educate. They don't just try to say, hey, it's like this because it's like this, right? So he really does try, in my opinion, to explain why it's like that. We learned from the deception detective that this 3 hours, it's something about, not that every time somebody uses the number 3 is it a lie, but most of the lies when it comes to numbers have a 3. So 3 minutes, 3 hours, and we have several of those along the way. We have 3 people that were interjected into that day that weren't there when they started talking and having the interview on the green shirt interview. And, we have to remember that they're also reading these comments. And I think that while they were reading these comments to get the gauge of the audience to see how well they did, right? Do we believe them? And when we didn't really believe them, or we questioned some of the stuff, then they started backfilling in with some other information. Now, when you kind of look at it from a bird's eye, it's kind of chunky. That's never where you want it to be. Like when a timeline is at, it's chunky. And that's kind of like where I feel that the Proudfoot's timeline is. It's not this is our day, I mean, my day's boring. But I could tell you what I did from the time I wake up to the time I go to bed, right? But that would be a stream. There's no hiccups in it. There's no hiccups in my timeline. If I give you my timeline, it's pretty cut and dry. So theirs is not. And that, whenever you're missing a child and you have a timeline that has a lot of places you can fill holes in, there's a reason why there's a lot of places that family can fill holes in. It's because they need places to move if something comes up. They can't give you definitive information because they don't know what's coming down the pike that they need to leave this space open. And that's kind of what I truly believe. So that's why they change their stories as they go, because they don't realize they're changing their stories. It's because it's a lie, and we're moving with our questions. We're moving their story, and they're having to add stuff to it. Next thing you know, the story they originally said looks absolutely nothing like the story they're peddling now. It's because, in my opinion, that is what is happening. This is going to be the last. I think this is the last thing I'm covering. Yeah, I think. Oh, no, I got one more thing after this. So I grabbed this because I think I have the answer to this. It says the next question, why has LE not released the dash cam footage or any footage? Cover up much? I don't think that this is a cover up. Video footage, like, I'm calling for an update, right? I'm calling for either a press release or a press conference to tell the people where we're at and what the path is forward, to do it in an intelligent way without jeopardizing the integrity of the investigation. Certainly our law enforcement can do that. We see it happen all across this country on a daily basis. So I certainly know that that police and sheriff departments can walk and chew gum. They can balance a public and balance a case. But when you start coming into dash cam footage or any other footage, you're talking about evidence in that case. That, in my opinion, does go to the integrity of the investigation. That would be, in my opinion, release as needed. Okay, so what do I mean by that? If you're hitting your head against the wall and you have a video that may start stirring up leads, maybe taking a sliver of that video to show to the audience, to get them talking, or to, like I said, strum up leads, then you might want to consider releasing that footage or a section of the footage to get a result that you are looking for. But it is still evidence and should be considered. And in my opinion, it does go to the integrity of the investigation. Are we at a point where they need to start releasing, say the 911 call or the dispatch call or some dash cam footage? I really don't know, because the last time we heard from anybody, they said that this is a missing person. This has not risen to the level of a criminal investigation, and they are basically out of leads. And there's no new information to really report on the case. So I really don't know. I really don't know, because law enforcement has failed to keep the public at least informed with just the bare facts of the case, leading a lot of people to be able to misrepresent the true facts of this case. If nothing more, the one thing that I liked about Moscow, Idaho, is that every day almost they released a press release just reiterating the true facts of the case. Maybe giving a little blurb at the top, like there has been no new information or no new leads that came in. So far, we've went through XYZ leads, XY, like I said, they had a public relations that they were really good at while maintaining the integrity of the investigation. I don't think it's asking too much for them to do something similar to that, so the public is at least fed with good factual information. So when other content creators are out there peddling bad information, content creators that like to make sure that people are factual and have the information, we have something at our disposal to say, hey, look, they're wrong about this. This is coming from a legit source. This is what the truth is. We can't do that, and it's just going to instigate more misrepresentation, more misinformation here on the streets of social media, just from somebody lacking the ability to put together a page, a statement. It seems like they are hitting their head against the wall over something that they could literally resolve with less than 5 minutes of their time a day. I'm telling you, I have been around the block a time or two. I've seen what works. I've seen what doesn't work. Sometimes I wish, and I'm not touting social media or anything like that, but sometimes I wish they would just call some of the people in the trenches to give them best practices. I think that there would be better communication, and there wouldn't be so much, back and forth with, it's social media's fault. No, it's law enforcement fault. No, it's social media's fault. No, it's law enforcement fault. Again, this kind of unity tour, if you haven't noticed, I think we can walk and chew gum. We are a great resource here for these cases, these true crime cases. And I don't know if not informing the public and having wild stuff just out there. Like I've heard some wild stuff. Okay. I don't even think it would be even possible to happen without being in a completely different world and our bodies having completely different capabilities. I'm just saying. Like some of these things are just like I love you guys. I love you guys. I'm telling you, some of you audience members should really consider getting you guys obviously have a passion for envisioning. I think that people that have these wild stories that they can envision and literally and they could make it make sense, but when you really apply it to theory to practice, you realize it has a lot of holes in it. But these people should be like book writers. I is their calling. Like, they are so creative, and they come up with some of the coolest, like I said, next level stuff. And I hear this stuff, I'm like, where in the world are they coming from? And so I'm looking at it, I try to find a silver lining or something positive. And it's like one of those things where I think that they would be a great, like, novelist or a book writer. Like, they obviously have the it factor, There's hope for you conspiracy theorists yet. I have one mod. I love her to death. I have one mod. It's like, it's so funny because when we start a case, like, she just goes like to the weird, twisted, like, I don't know, the weirdest things. So I get it. I love it. But, when it comes to stuff like coverage of cameras and footage, that really does go to the integrity of the investigation. Those are things that, me as a professional, two, just wanting the best for this case, I don't know if that would be beneficial to anyone. I only want things that are going to lead to evidence that are going to have Sebastian found and or the people that disappeared him to be held responsible. That is literally the only goal in mind. And, I'm a nosy person. I know that. I mean, if it was thrown out there, I'd grab it, right? I'm nosy. I like this. I like getting, this information. Like I said, if the dash cam footage was out there, I would be running a story on the dash cam footage. So it's not like I'm not saying that I wouldn't use it, that I wouldn't want to see it, that I wouldn't want to try to add another puzzle piece to this crazy puzzle, the Sebastian Rogers case. But I also want, I don't, if it has benefit, I think it should be released if it can provide a benefit to law enforcement. If it does not provide a benefit to law enforcement and is going to make their life more chaotic, then that has to be added into the equation, and don't release it. At this point, let's face it, this case is crazy. I mean, even the most professional of professionals look like freaking idiots right now related to this case. It's the craziest thing I've ever seen. It's like people jump into this case and it's like they hit plain stupid. This was an audience member of mine that actually sent in an email to me. I get a lot of emails about this case on the daily. I am so appreciative. A lot of people sharing personal stories with me, so you can imagine why I don't, bring their personal stuff to social media. And some of them just, giving me guidance, look here, look there. Some of them are, thank you, whatever that may be. But there are a few that, make me think, or that really are different than the other emails, or a topic that we haven't previously discussed, if that makes sense. And so this was one of those, because this is a conversation we've absolutely not talked about. It says, I brought this up in chat, and just to let you guys know, even the ones that are here, I very rarely read chat. It's a bad habit. When I'm done with my commentary, I'll go down and catch some comments and stuff. Usually on the replays, I look at my comments and see if there's anything I might have missed or something. But on here, you can't do that. So I apologize for those that might be asking me questions that I may have missed. Not sure if anyone knew what I was talking about. Okay, not sure if anyone knew what I was talking about. Instead, people running around not really having any idea where Sebastian is and where to search, wasting time and money. Why hasn't TBI or FBI pulled the data? It might be too late now. I'm not that knowledgeable about the software, just aware that it exists, and I love technology, so was very excited about the fact that criminals won't be able to hide. And what this particular subscriber is referring to is that in our cars, we have computers. If you guys recall, I ended up replacing my computer just recently. And in that computer, it does a lot of stuff and it records a lot of stuff. And the computer learns as you're driving, believe it or not. So there are some things that, that your cars can tell somebody. Say if you commit a crime, there's basically a black box, right, in your car that they can pull from. I think the black boxes are getting smarter and smarter. Once upon a time, they could really only tell if the engine was on or off. Then it was whether it was in, driving or not in driving. They couldn't tell whether it was driving or not. They could only tell whether it was in drive, reverse, the gears. And then that kind of evolved to them now knowing how long that you were in that gear, whether the car was in motion or still. There's a lot of stuff that they can do to the point now that they can literally tell when your phone is hooked up, when you hit your brake pedal, when you turned your blinker on. I mean, it records a lot now, guys. I mean, it records a lot. I'm surprised they don't have cameras in there recording who's driving the car, right? I don't know how I like it because one, it's causing our car costs to go through the roof. And two, I should be in control of my own data, and they don't give us the ability to have this or not have this, right? They don't give us the ability to have tracking software or not have tracking software. They don't give us the ability to make a choice whether we want our seatbelt dinger to ring every 2 seconds, literally for an hour, if our passenger chooses not to put on a seatbelt. It's not our choice. It's theirs. Everybody in the car has to suffer. It's not fair. I'm just saying. I'm one of those side seat drivers that don't like putting my seatbelt on. I know people are going to say, I can't believe you, Betty. I'm sorry. I'm kamikaze some days. Some days I just want to, live free. Let my hair blow in the wind from the window. Every now and again I just want to go without the helmet. Okay? I shouldn't have to be barked at literally the hour while I'm trying to get my hair dried. But the evidence of the black box, and I don't think they're going to be able to get the black box out of the car because this is what it comes down to. I think it's a great topic of discussion, what is contained in those black boxes. But, they need a court order. And to get that black box typically takes somebody going in there and removing it. So you need a highly trained mechanic to go in there and remove wherever this black box is. Is it part of the computers now? Is it a separate item? I work on my car. I can change out spark plugs, okay? I can watch YouTube and change out a radiator, okay? I know literally nothing about anything. I put a little diagnostic tool up to the car. It tells me what's wrong. I go research it. I do a step-by-step video. I fix my car that way. I don't know if this black box is part of the computer program. I don't know if it's further in the engine. I don't know where it's at. I'm not that inclined. So maybe somebody can inform us. But it would be interesting because, and guys, listen to this. Look, Chris was on a work site, okay? If I know anything about job sites that size, I know that there is no possibility of keeping track of every single thing and every single tool and every single truck and every single thing. Because if there was, they wouldn't lose keys all the time. They wouldn't have to go hunt down this person and ask them, were you the last one to use the truck, right? So were there things like that on this job site? Did Chris Proudfoot have access to another vehicle? Did he have access to another cell phone? He was around a lot of people on a very large project. Could he have mingled in? Could he have been seen at 5:15, clocked in and snuck out? I don't know. I have literally no earthly clue. I wasn't there. I'm trying to find out. We're all trying to find out. But last night, for those that missed it, I wanted to show you guys something because I thought this was so impactful and so profound that I must keep sharing it. I just must. We covered Riley Strain in this case, and we saw his mother. He was a 22-year-old boy. Okay, he was out of mama's home and going to college, right? It's probably a nerve-wracking time for any parent to send their children off to college for the first time and have absolutely no control. That is one of the most powerless, helpless feelings that you could probably ever imagine for a parent, is watching their little birdie leave the nest, okay? This child here never had the opportunity to leave the nest, okay? This is the first time his parents have been without him. I want to make sure you understand that. This is the first time his parents have been without him. Riley Strain's mother had been without her son because he's been going to college in Missouri. He had been living there. He'd been living on campus. So she had to face her biggest fear and send her son off to a university, right? It's time for him to leave the nest, right? And have the university experience. So she has an adult child, and this is the face she's had since she walked into Nashville, running around begging all the store owners, all the shop owners, please look at your footage. Please, 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 did you see my son? Handing out her personal phone number, begging them to stop what they were doing right then and there and to please look at their footage. She feels something's wrong with her son. She knows something's wrong with her son. She's just begging. She's going all over Nashville, begging and pleading with anybody to see her son. I guarantee she had a picture of him showing everybody, did you see my son? Have you seen my son? Have you seen my son? I can't imagine what this lady went through. I can't imagine. But I know for a fact that she was visibly distraught. You know how I know that? Because store owners were interviewed by the news out there. And they described the description that they said was more heartbreaking than I can describe here for you, because I can't describe it from their witness. You know? And it pulled at my heartstrings, and we watched this lady like this since she got into town, which was like day 2. She found out her boy was missing. She was there. And she has been like this, searching for her son, literally on every single street, talking to anybody that would be willing to talk to her. And then we come over here visibly. I mean, even the stepfather, you can see the pain in that man's eyes. You can feel both of their pain. They truly loved Riley, both of them, the mom and the stepfather. And then you go here. A child that's never been without his mama. Never been without his mama. She's never been without him, except when he goes to his father's and goes to school. She's been able to maintain her composure. She's been able to talk. She's been able to pack up her camper multiple times and leave her home where her son disappeared from. She can go motorcycle shopping. She can go out to dinner. She can go out to lunch. She can visit with family members. But she can't help search for her son. She can't post flyers for her son. And she can't stay at home to wait for her son. Meanwhile, I can guarantee you this woman right here wants one more day with her son. One more day. She would probably rip up everything. She would probably sell her soul to the devil to have one more day with her son. Meanwhile, this one's living with it. So I really don't give a crap if people are offended because I make fun and tout these two parents that say they are parents around as fools and disgusting POSs. It's because this boy was entrusted in their care and they can't tell us where he is or how he disappeared. At all. We're not seeing that. We're not seeing a mother freaking out that her medically disabled son is gone. We have 341 people in here, and I have to think that the majority of you are parents. I want you to think about your child, whether your child's healthy or not. And you put yourself and think of waking up tomorrow and not finding your child in their freaking bed. And never seeing that child again. You don't tell me that you will not be a slobbering, absolute Riley Strain's mom wreck. And then you look at Tweedledee and Tweedledum and their very first interview. They are having a hard time keeping a straight face, composing themselves, and spitting out their words. So that's the reality, folks. I'm not making this stuff up, and you can fact find the heck out of everything I said, and you will find it to be true. Does this mean that the parents had anything to do with Sebastian disappearing? It's not evidence to that just yet, but it is awfully suspicious. You had a boy that was sleeping in your bed that poof vanished. And the only thing you can say is you think he walked out the front door. Not cutting it with this chick here. Sorry. Not sorry. All right, guys, don't forget today. Let's make sure that we blow up all social media with this beautiful boy's photo. Let's make sure that he is out there. Let's make sure that we're keeping his name out there the best way we know how. If you have the ability to search, you don't need a huge search team. If you and your friends want to get out, go and find this flyer, print it out. You can do black and whites. If you want to be official, you can go straight to TBI and get the endangered person one. If you want it to be from an official source, if you're, why not? So get those. If you'd like to print them out, go print them out. Go post them around your neighborhood. Does it matter which neighborhood you post them around? It surely does not. You want to know why? Because we don't know where this boy's at. Are you in North Carolina? Fine, post them. You in South Carolina? Fine, post them. You in Kentucky? Great, print them out, post them. Where you living? Post it. You know what? You don't have a whole lot of money, but you got a sheet of paper and you got some black ink. Print one copy and go stick it on and tape it up on your post, your own electrical post. At least somebody will see it, right? At least somebody will see it because we don't know. And what if that one person that just happened to leave town that day that saw something is driving across your neighborhood in your yard and sees this boy and he says, I remember being there. I remember being in Hendersonville, Tennessee. I remember something odd happening. That looks familiar. That sounds familiar. I need to make a call. Where can I send you? bullhornbetty@gmail.com. bullhornbetty@gmail.com. So we just need to make it about Sebastian Wayne Drake Rogers. We need anybody that's attacking Seth at this point. I think that he has gone over and above. I don't want to hear it. Don't bring it to my front doorstep. Unless something changes where we get something that corroborates that he might have a hand in it, I don't want to hear it anymore. He's done everything that he has checked all the right boxes in Camp Bullhorn Betty. And I'm sorry, I'm very, 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 very picky. Period. He's out there looking. He's out there posting. He's giving polygraphs. He's passed polygraphs. He's bared his soul to the world. He don't give a shit who records him. He just wants to find his son. He's hitting all the hot spots for Bullhorn Betty, okay? So I'm sorry. We ain't going there. So anybody that wants to sit there and still continue to engage in chat rooms and Facebook groups that want to sit there on their platform and utilize their platform to bash a man that has lost his child, no matter, and if you're perfect, I mean, for everything, if you're perfect, maybe I don't know, I'm in the midst of a perfect being. If you are that perfect, please, I'd like to know who you are. I'd like to know who you are. But as far as I'm concerned, when we have a missing child and we know that people aren't responsible, we don't attack them. There's a cardinal rule about that. Because all of us have made mistakes. Can you imagine making a mistake and never being able to apologize for it again, you have no right. They had nothing to do with his disappearance. They have nothing to do with why he's gone. They want to bring him home. They are doing everything that they can possibly do to bring him home. And I want to support those efforts as much and as loudly and as powerfully as this platform can. We need to get the messaging out, and the messaging needs to be right. Because out of all the parents that we come across, Seth has literally hit every single box that we request of a parent. So if we're going to still continue to attack him after doing all of this, then we're never going to get people coming here to clear their name and get the focus off them. It's just not going to happen, because even when they do it, they're still getting beat up. He did everything that has been asked of us, social media, that has been asked by media, that's been asked by law enforcement. He did things that went against what law enforcement really wanted him to do by taking the polygraph, but he did it because he wanted to make sure everybody knew he had nothing to do with this. Let's move on. He's done everything we've asked. Everything. I'm done with the Seth conversation. I'm no longer entertaining it until somebody brings me some solid receipts for me to start entertaining it. Right now, we have a boy that disappeared from a very specific place that was well far away from Seth. Well far away from Seth. So we have a boy that disappeared from a very specific place. And I think everybody's focus needs to be on ground zero, because that's the last place that boy was at. Thank you, Sue. I will get it. God bless you. So there you have it, folks. You can always come over. Thank you, Sonia. You can always come over to our Justice for Sebastian group. I know that it's a smaller group, but we do need to build it up, because we are going to be seeking justice. Everybody's still talking about finding him and stuff like that. Obviously, the people that have the answer aren't trying to have him found, so it's time to seek justice for him. I'm sorry, I truly believe that. I know it kind of goes against the drumbeat of the family, but I do have hope for him. But I also believe that he was injured by his mom and stepfather, and no matter what, we still need to be seeking justice for that. So if you guys would like to come over and help support another growing Facebook group that doesn't censor people, that likes to keep it fact-based, and the only way you'll get your stuff kicked off is if you violate terms of service. You know my rule. Don't be a dick. We can debate on the issues. We don't have to attack each other. I'm a major stickler for that, because we've got to get back to where we can have conversations with each other when we agree to disagree, and still maintain that. Because obviously we've got a bunch of children running Facebook groups that don't know that concept. So that's where we're at. Anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed this. God bless. If you missed any of it, I'm going to be downloading it. You can find it in about an hour on my YouTube channel at Bullhorn Betty on YouTube. So get over there, support that channel. We've got a lot of stuff going, and as soon as we can get out on I know I feel like a broken record, but I'm just still waiting. Because I don't know what else to do. I am just a hurry up and wait type of person. I need my car. Once my car's released to me, I'll have to figure it out from there. But I haven't even received my car, so I can't do anything or go anywhere without a vehicle. I've been stuck here. But I promise you guys, as soon as I keep you guys posted. I keep you guys posted on the daily. As soon as I get meaningful transportation, this has been a very expensive process for me. So I'm just trying to work through it and get back on the road. So anyways, guys, I will talk to you guys later. God bless you. Keep sharing Sebastian's name. And guys, please do me a favor. If you guys do anything for this child, if you do anything for Seth, for me, for any other person out here just trying to advocate for this beautiful boy, don't get engaged with the drama. Don't get engaged with the heated conversations. It does no purpose. Make your statement. You have the right to make a statement, but arguing with people that just want to argue really isn't going to do anything. But there are other people, I promise you, if you do make the statement, there are definitely other people that probably mimic your statement and probably deserves to be put out there. So just ignore the hate. That's really my best advice right now. This has been contentious. This has been drama-laced, and now we truly know where the drama has been started, has been churning, and has been percolating for this case. So we need to move that out of the way and take out the noise. All right, guys, God bless and take care. We'll see you soon. Rock it out with your coffee beans out.